It's very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I am the principal of Bailey Lake Elementary School, and I'm interviewing for a student teaching position for the first grade in Mrs. Smith's classroom. This interview is a behavioral-based interview, and I'm going to be asking you a series of questions. And the answer I would like is describe a certain situation, what the incident was, how you planned, and what you did to fix it, and the result for each of these questions. The interview should take about a half an hour, and I'm going to be taking notes so that I can remember myself what your responses were. And first question I'd like to ask you is, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so my name is Shannon Bergen. I'm a current student at Utah Valley University, but I will be graduating from Oakland University. I have worked at daycares for the past 3 years, and I've worked with children ages 3 months all the way up until 8 years old. In that time, I've worked and learned how to adapt to each specific child, including those of different cultural backgrounds and those with disabilities and or student needs. I've also learned in this time how to become empathetic and patient and always have a positive attitude even on the hardest days.
So you're going to Oakland University in Michigan. You're going to graduate from Oakland University, which is in Michigan.
Yes.
But you're currently going to Utah Valley. What brought you to Utah Valley?
Yes, so I'm here in a program called the National Student Exchange, and it's really just kind of a study abroad program, but within the United States, and I'm only here for just the semester, and then I go back to Michigan.
Why did you choose Utah?
I chose Utah because I thought it would definitely be a new experience. I've never been out west, and there's a lot outdoor-wise things to do here, and I like to be outdoors, so I thought that it would be a new and interesting place to come.
Interesting. You like skiing?
Yes, I do like to ski.
Excellent. You've come to the right place. All right, let's go ahead and begin the questionnaire. Number one, tell me about a time you showed initiative. What prompted you to get started, and what were the results?
So working at Goldfish Swim School, we do a lot of local events. So there was a local event coming up at our local community center, and they were offering slots for booths for businesses to come out and just like set up a tent and a table and everything like that. So I took the initiative to gather a tent and a table and decorations and everything representing our company. And I gathered some workers who work with me at that place, and we went out to this event, and I packed up everything and we set up everything, and I created some flyers to be handed out in bags to passerbyers or anybody who had came up to us with any type of questions or wanted some more information. And we also in turn created a list of people who were interested in our company and wanted to be reached out to and at a later date. And so after reaching out to those people, after getting all of their information, we reached out to them by call, by email, and in turn we did gain a lot of new customers from that experience.
Excellent. Next question, what was the most useful criticism you've ever received from an immediate supervisor, and how did you embrace the feedback and achieve a positive outcome from that?
So something that comes to mind would be when I worked at the at-home daycare I worked at. There was one child who was about 3 months old during the time who was having a rough time putting herself to sleep. So she was having a rough time when it was time to go down for her nap. And I was trying to console her and comfort her by holding her and letting her sit with me instead of just letting her try to figure it out herself. And my supervisor had told me and said that instead of holding her and letting her find comfort in myself, to let her kind of figure it out on her own. And in turn, it made me realize that in the short term, letting her feel that discomfort would help her long term be able to put herself down all by herself, which is eventually what did happen. After a couple weeks of crying and discomfort, she did end up being able to properly put herself right to bed. So
yeah, that's a very hard lesson to learn as a parent.
Yes.
Let them cry and eventually they go to sleep. What do you feel you have to offer above the average employee when it comes to accomplishing your daily responsibilities and goals? And please give me a specific example.
I believe that I'm a very organized person. I like to keep a planner and plan out my weeks, and I like to think that I'm very good at time management. Especially with my schoolwork, I like to sit down at the beginning of each week and look at all of my assignments I have for the week and put them all down in my planner. That way I'm not overwhelmed on any specific days, and I can get all of my work done proficiently without having too much at once, and that way they're all turned in by their due date. A specific example, I guess, would be during exam week of my first semester in college. Obviously, that is a tough time when you've never gone through an exam week like that. So having my planner and planning everything out by day to kind of allow myself enough time to study while also keeping up with my normal work really helped me and benefited me in my scores on those exams. So
Did well on the exam?
I did do well on those exams.
So you've had experience at an in-home daycare, you've had experience at the Goldfish Swim School, and you've also had experience, what was the third one?
At a more professional learning center.
Oh, the Learning Center. Yeah.
Yes.
What age group do you like the best?
I tend to lean towards the 3 to 6 year old group the most. I find that those are my favorite ages.
Did you feel that the Learning Center was more organized and more conducive to your skill set of being organized? And
I do, yes. The at-home daycare, while I loved it and I loved my boss and who I worked for and all of the students there, it definitely was more of a free reign environment, whereas the Learning Center was definitely more scheduled and we had a set lesson plan for the day and things like that. So I found that for the kids it was a little bit better. They were definitely learning a bit more rather than having more free play, whereas that was kind of what the home daycare was based on, free play more than a lesson-based day. So for me, that's what I liked. I liked having a very set schedule every day. So.
And the age groups at the in-home daycare were what?
They were 3 months old, and then we did have some 8-year-olds that would come visit us in the summer when they weren't in school. But when those bigger kids were at school, we would have up to 5 years old. So.
And then the Learning Center, was that the same age group?
The Learning Center, I worked with mostly 3 and 4 year olds, but they did have infants, all like 3 months old, all the way up until they had a kindergarten program.
So you primarily worked with kids that were entering elementary school
Yes.
next year?
Yes.
And that's the age group you like the best?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, next up, describe a time when you elevated the level of value you brought to a customer over time. How did you accomplish this?
One experience that comes to mind is one child that I worked at the Learning Center. He was a nonverbal student and he was having some trouble with potty training. So to help him during this time, we did obviously kind of set up a plan with the parents and his family. So we were working on it in school and they were working on it at home. But one thing that we did was he was wearing a watch that went off for like every 2 hours. That kind of told him, let's go use the bathroom, and he loved it. He thought it was super fun, so that really helped us getting him into the bathroom and getting him to at least try to go. There was also a lot of kind of communication on our parts to continue to ask him throughout the day multiple times, do you need to go to the bathroom? Would you like to go to the bathroom? Just to kind of limit the times that maybe he would go into his diaper, because we'd kind of be asking him to go instead. So this kind of led us to getting to the point where he would only need a pull-up during his nap time. And then eventually he would get used to not going at nap, and we got to the point where he would no longer need a pull-up or a diaper at all.
You said a watch? Did his parents provide it, or?
Yes, his parents did provide the watch. So they were using the watches at home as well as at school. So
And this
it
is
was
a watch
consistent.
that a 3-year-old can operate?
Yes, it's just like a little plastic watch, and it literally just had, you could set your own time limit. So I think theirs was set at about every 2 hours, and it would play a fun little song so he would know that it was time to go to the bathroom.
Interesting. And you said he was nonverbal. Have you worked with nonverbal students or children before?
So not at the in-home daycare that I worked at. There was a student who was a bit, you could say, behind in that aspect, but he was not nonverbal. But at the Learning Center, I did work with a few students who were nonverbal, some being, they could say certain things and they could kind of communicate with you, and others, they were completely nonverbal. So, yes.
Did you find it difficult to work with them at all, or?
And initially I did find it slightly difficult to work with them, but eventually you adapt to them and you kind of learn how they communicate with you, and each child's different and you pick up on that, so you kind of learn how to communicate with those children with what works best for them, and you learn what they're trying to communicate to you as well.
Excellent. Next up, can you recall a time when you were less than pleased with your performance, and what did you do about it?
There was one time where I did have a paper that was due, and I did end up rushing through it. I did turn it in, and I got a less than ideal grade, definitely not what I was obviously aiming for. Because of this, I did reach out to my teacher, and I asked for some time to make some corrections and just turn it in. Not really expecting much, but I did want to show that my effort was there. And in turn, she did actually give me a bit of a percentage increase on that grade for my efforts and, noticing that, I did not do my best and that I wanted to try harder. So
What did you originally get?
I originally got a 65% on that paper, and she boosted my grade 10%, so I ended up getting a 75, which was better than a 65, so I was grateful for that.
For sure. That was good initiative on your part to follow through and realize that you had not given it your all and went back, and
Right.
she was nice enough to grant you that
Right.
opportunity. Next up, describe your level of competitiveness. Tell me about a specific situation where your competitiveness helped you achieve better results than your peers.
I would say that I am a very competitive person. One thing that kind of comes to mind that was more recently was while working at Goldfish Swim School, we do have to be lifeguard certified. So there's an online portion as well as an in-person portion. And I was the first person out of my class to complete the online portion, which in turn gave me a bit of an upper hand on the other students because some of them chose to start that online portion just the night before. And so when it came time to do the in-person selection, I definitely stood out and could do the skills more proficiently than those who did not take the time to thoroughly do the online portion and understand it a little bit more. So yeah.
What was the online portion of the test? Was it questions in regards to lifeguarding? What?
It was like a module, so you would have to go through and you listen to videos and almost like PowerPoints, and then there was many quizzes throughout to check your knowledge and things like that. And it ended up taking me, I think that there was a total of 10 modules that I spread out throughout a week. So I did about 2 modules every day before the in-person section that weekend. So
Your peers at the swim school, were they your same age? Were they older or younger?
it was a mix. It was a lot of students either my age or a little bit younger. There's a lot of people who are in high school that work with me, but also a lot of college students as well. So we're all around within 2 years of each other's age.
And I'm assuming you passed and you're certified lifeguard?
Yes, I did, yes.
All right. Think of an example when one of your customers was not pleased with something you or your team did. What was the situation and how did you recover?
Again, at the swim school, there was a parent who was unhappy with her child's instructor. And so she came up to us and voiced her concerns, and I obviously listened, and I talked it out with her, and we discussed maybe a solution for that or what she would like to see happen about that. And I ended up doing a one-on-one for her child with a different instructor that would be taking over that class. And so I set up that one-on-one class with that new instructor. That way he could get some one-on-one time with her to see if he bonded with her, and if the parent as well, if she liked that instructor a little bit more. And in turn, she really liked that idea. So the next week he had that one-on-one lesson, and both the student and the mom really, really liked the new teacher, and so all was well. They were really happy to go into that new class. So.
Did you, at the swim school, do they normally do one-on-ones, or is that something you came up with?
Normally we do not do one-on-ones, no, because of the pandemic we did take away private lessons. And even so, private lessons would normally be more of an upcharge than regular lessons. So having a one-on-one lesson specifically for them was not something that would normally be done. So they were very appreciative of that, yeah.
Just out of curiosity, did they keep coming back to the student?
They did, yeah. They really liked their new teacher, and so they were very happy that they were able to get us to fit them into that new class. So
Did you get any feedback from the parent when this was all?
we did. She did come up to us and thank us and told us that they loved the new instructor and that they were very glad that we were able to do that for them, and they appreciated it.
Excellent. Good thinking outside the box to have a one-on-one instructor and get them comfortable with each other
Right.
before, instead of just throwing them into the next.
Exactly,
class.
yeah. We didn't want to do that, especially if he had a bad experience with them.
All right. Give an example of a time when you successfully persuaded your peers to change their minds and follow your recommendations, and what was the specific situation and results?
So at those events for the swim school, like I explained earlier, we used to use clipboards with just a full sheet of paper, and it was just a chart written out that anybody who had interest in us could put their information in the chart, and we would later contact them. And I had suggested using those little tearaway information cards rather than the big charts, just because they were much more convenient for both parties. They had a little bit more information on them as well for us, that really helped us out. And they were just easier for us to keep all together and organized as well. And in turn, I believe that a lot more people had filled them out, and we did have a little bit more information when we were calling those people back. So it helped both parties.
Was there an incentive so that they'd come to the booth and you had flyers in a bag to give to them? Was there an incentive for them to fill it out?
So at first, no, at the first event that I was talking about, we didn't have any incentives. But then at the second event, we did have an incentive where if you did fill out one of our cards, then you could be entered to get like a free trial lesson with us or a free month of swim lessons. So
Was there a difference in response rate? Did you get more when you offered the
we
free?
did get more when we offered it instead of. A lot of people at the first event did come up to us and ask if we were offering something for free to fill out the cards, and when we told them no, they did walk away. So the next event we chose to do something like that just because it seems like more people, and you're getting more people into the business as well by having somebody win something.
All right. Share a time when you were able to directly attribute your probing skills to solve a problem with a difficult customer, where you asked them details and you worked with it, or you were trying to get out of them a solution. Probing, asking questions.
So again, at the swim school, I am a customer representative as well, so I talk to people over the phone. And one of the parents had called us, and she had a child who had broken their arm, and that child was not going to be allowed in the water. And she wasn't quite understanding that we do usually have a 30-day withdrawal policy for any type of withdrawals in our lessons. And the only other option, after asking her questions about maybe how long the child would be out of the water and the seriousness of the situation, she had just described to me that the time that he would be out of the water was completely unknown. The doctor didn't have an estimate, and neither did she. And so what I recommended to her was either doing a 1-month medical hold, which is a common thing that we can do for people, or just completely unenrolling her child from our swim lessons. And she was not quite understanding why she couldn't just immediately unenroll her child. So in turn, I just asked a couple more questions about the situation. And I also talked to my supervisor about just doing an immediate withdrawal for the medical reasons, just because they didn't know how long that they would be out. And if they did do the 1-month hold, it could be an issue the next month when the payment came out if that child was still not able to come back. And after talking to my supervisor, we did find a solution to just do an immediate, complete withdrawal from lessons for the medical reasons. So.
Do you know if they ever returned?
They did, yeah. It was a little over a month, so.
Would you say the customer was happy?
I
with
would
the
say
result?
yes. She was definitely relieved at the end because she didn't want to get stuck paying for something that she wasn't going to be attending, which is completely understandable. It was just our company policy, but we were able to figure that out for her.
So at the swim school, you were customer representative, you were certified lifeguard. Did you also do instruction as well?
I did do instruction as well, yes.
Huh. And the age group you instruction?
I instructed personally anywhere from little babies that could hold their head up, but usually we start at 3 or 4 months old. Anywhere up between, I did have a couple 10, 11-year-olds, so. The highest that the swim school usually teaches is probably 11 or 12 is the highest age, so.
What position did you like best?
I love being all around. I do love being a lifeguard because you are definitely paying attention to the kids, and obviously you're in charge of their safety and things like that, but you're also a figure of safety for those kids, so they recognize you as somebody who, if something would happen to them, like you would be the one to save them. And it's kind of fun being out on the pool deck with those kids and getting to, if somebody's uncomfortable, you're the one that gets to kind of calm them down and console them. So I like being out there. But I also really like being at the front desk as well and having that customer to employee relation. So.
Do you feel like you said you like being all around, the change of a different job is important to you?
I do. I do like being in one spot, but I also like a variety just because having different options and things like that is nice to be able to rotate in between the few. I do like having a variety of things instead of just doing the same thing every single day. But
Gotcha. I think we all like a little variety.
Right,
every day.
Exactly.
Nobody likes doing the same thing by rote every day.
Right.
Tell me about a time when you identified a new, unusual, or different approach for addressing a problem or task. A way of doing something differently than the previous people were doing it. How did you come to the solution, and what was the outcome?
So again, at the swim school, there was a child who was having a hard time getting comfortable in his lesson. He would come to class and he would be very standoffish and didn't really want to get into the water and would in turn end up crying or just not having a very good day. So I took it upon myself, instead of just doing the normal comfort words and things like that and allowing his teacher to be a little extra slow and attentive to him. I also pulled him out of that class and put him into a one-on-one with a teacher who didn't have a class for that particular half hour. And with that teacher, we pulled some fun toys out, including like some little balls, and we had him swim and collect all of the balls and things like that. And so it made that lesson really, really fun for him, and he had a great time. And in turn, it also made up for the missing water time that he had from his other class from not wanting to get into the water. And so when he came back to his normal lesson the following week, he was much more open. And more open to trying new things with his normal instructor in a normal class. So it all worked out for the best.
Another one-on-one solution.
Yes, it does help a lot.
Yeah.
Some kids just need that little extra boost all by themselves.
Did you get any feedback from the parent, or even how old was the student?
This student was, I believe he was 3 years old.
Oh, younger.
Yes.
Did you get any feedback from the parent, or?
The parent definitely had come up and acknowledged what we had done and was appreciative, because you could tell that they were getting a bit stressed out. Obviously, when you're bringing your child to a lesson that you're paying for and every week he's crying and not wanting to do it, it's a difficult thing to watch. And obviously as a parent you would become frustrated, but once they saw how much fun he had in that lesson, that you could tell that they definitely had a smile on their face and they're really happy that he was able to enjoy a lesson in future lessons. So
All right, that is all the questions I have for you.
awesome. Thank you.
Let's see, where are we at here? one final question, and it's a big one, and take your time with it.
Okay.
Why should you, as opposed to the next person, be considered for this position?
Yeah. So I did graduate from the top of my class with a 3.9 GPA, which is something that I worked very hard for. All my prior working positions have been children-based, working with children, dealing with their development and their learning. I did, like I said, start in an in-home facility, and then I moved on to a more professional learning center. And I later went on to work at a children's swim school, where I am currently a certified lifeguard, an instructor, and a customer relations specialist, which we did discuss earlier. So all of these positions have kind of led me to my overall goal, which is working here at Bailey Lake Elementary. And through all of these experiences, I've gained experience working with the students and teachers and other faculty and things like that. And so, and also creating a beneficial and a fun learning environment for everybody. So,
Excellent. Do you have any questions for me?
What is the work environment like here?
As a principal, my number one thing is that we all work as a team. The faculty, from the janitors to the principal, we all share a common goal. We want a clean environment. As you can see, we have a beautiful facility
Right,
here.
yes.
We've made substantial improvements. It's clean, it's well lit, it's a safe environment, and we all work as a team. We do a lot of extracurricular activities between everybody who works here. We all go out, we celebrate, we have a good time, and we make sure that we all have the same goals.
Right.
So teamwork's important to me. Diversity, inclusion, including everybody in everything that we do, and everybody has a voice. If you have an opinion, I like to hear it, and I'm not myself and the assistant principal. We don't think we know it all, and we're open to new ideas and a fresh face and a fresh start for everybody, and everybody has a voice. So
I like that a lot. One other question is there an opportunity for growth and advancement here?
Most definitely. After the student teaching position, there are going to be positions available. The point of the student teaching position is to give you experience so that you can continue in your career, and also, to be honest with you, for us to evaluate to see if you're a potential teacher that we'd want to hire full time in our facility. But yes, there will be positions available for the next school year, and other advancements. There's also the administrative track you could take if that's something you're interested later on, once you become a teacher.
Right.
Do you have any other questions?
I think that's all of my questions for today. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for the interview. We're going to be making a decision in the next couple of weeks for the student position, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Awesome.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Just that I love everything that you said that you stand for here in this school very much, and I do believe that I would be an asset here and that I would fit right in with that teamwork and that team community that you have here, and that I would really like to be considered.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.